here we are, folks. It's time for another video in the realm of Smash speculation. This week kind of relates to the previous week's videos, as some of the characters from my last 2 weeks worth of content will be cross-pollinating into this here video. And this week's video came at the request of my wonderful collaborator, Mr. Gabe Nozid, and he said he would like to see me review the top requested Smash characters by region. So to me, the 3 regions that matter the most for this DLC, I would think, are the likes of Japan, America, and Europe. And there is some data that was compiled for these regions during the fall of last year. So a user on Reddit compiled data based on Twitter posts at the official Nintendo Twitter accounts of all these different regions and seen just how popular a character was in that region by the amount of posts that were made for them. So what I'm going to say is that through a bunch of social media skewering, this Reddit user was able to find out the top 10 characters of the 3 regions I just mentioned. However, for the sake of this video to not be far too long, we're instead going to look at the top 5 characters requested by these regions, and I'm going to review them, as in how they'd fare in Smash, if I have any history with them, etc. But most importantly of all, even beside all that, how likely or unlikely they are. So without further ado, let's begin the top 10 for arguably the most important region of all. And that region is Japan. And as much as we don't want to admit this, the game was created in Japan, and there's a bit of bias, through the Japanese developers in favor of, say, a Japanese audience, because that's its region of origin. Number 5 is going to be funny to some of you. We just discussed this character 2 weeks ago for being controversial, but of course that was only the Western reaction to them. The 5th spot of Japan's top 5 went to Byleth, the protagonist of Fire Emblem Three Houses. We know Japan loves their JRPGs. In fact, they're the country that really made that genre special. I mean, J for Japan is in the name. So they definitely have a deep love for characters from these games, as you will find out from the rest of their top 5. What's more fascinating to me was at the time this data was compiled and put together, Three Houses had only been out for a handful of months tops. And in Japan, just mere months after the release of this game, the main protagonist was already being clamored for Eastside. So for anyone saying nobody wanted Byleth, Japan begs to differ. Again, they're at the bottom of this top 5, but we're midway through Japan's top 10. They had more support than the likes of Metal Gear's Raiden, Final Fantasy VII's Sephiroth, and even 2B from Nier Automata, who are at the bottom of their top 10. So naturally, they're already included in Smash. The last characters revealed as a part of Fighters Pass 1. But even then, there are more desired characters that placed higher for Japan. At number 4, drumroll, Monster Hunter from the Monster Hunter games, particularly the more recent Monster Hunter games where you have a customizable hunter that you play and level up with throughout the game, getting better gear, weapons, etc. This would be another Capcom character, and even though these iterations of the hunter, particularly for Monster Hunter World, for example, haven't been on a Nintendo platform, there have been other games with different hunter-esque protagonists that have. I think we look back to the days of the DS and such. And Monster Hunter, these days, has become the second most successful franchise in terms of sales for Capcom, behind Resident Evil. But sales have proven to mean nothing when it comes to Smash inclusions. Popularity, though, does seem to matter quite a bit. And at number 3, for Japan's top 5, is none other than Dante from Devil May Cry. Dante also appeared in Europe's top 10, but this is probably a much more important list to do well on. Once again, this is another Capcom character, and as I mentioned in a previous video about my prediction on the first character of the second Fighters Pass, I believed Dante had a great shot to be revealed first, tying with Crash Bandicoot. Now, after all that has happened, I don't think Crash is likely anymore, and when it comes to Dante, I'm a little more iffy on him. If Capcom gets another character, I think based on these results here, and who knows how many other Japanese social media posts there are regarding him, I think Dante has a fair shot because of said fandom in Japan. And as we know, Japan does matter quite a lot. Not that that's a bad thing, though. I'll have to keep mentioning that. I'm not saying it's a bad thing. This is where the game originates. May I remind you that this game was created with just the Japanese region in mind. It expanded globally, though, but originally, Smash 64 was going to be Japanese exclusive until Nintendo changed their minds and decided to release it worldwide. So Japan is a super, super special region for the Smash community. Dante, as far as a choice is concerned, is absolutely solid. He has a fair amount of popularity, both in East and West, had a recent game with Devil May Cry 5, which means he isn't being revived from a dead series like we've seen a few of our roster members that have actually been through that. But there are still two choices that rank higher than him for Japan. And Capcom has 3 fighters in the base game already. I know fan rules, but again, I can't see many third-party characters happening this time around, which actually doesn't bode well for the majority of characters that are going to be highlighted in this video. But moving on, at number 2, we have none other than a Keyblade-wielding, spiky-haired boy himself, Sora from Kingdom Hearts. Now, in my last video, you heard me gush all about how much potential Sora has and how he remains one of my most wanted characters for DLC. But apparently, Japan also really loves this Disney RPG fella. You might have noticed that pretty much every character so far, minus Dante, has been an RPG protagonist. And since last week's video went so in-depth on Sora, I don't have much to say for him here, but do note that keep his name in mind as we go along in this video. And the number 1 requested character via Japanese social media is Lloyd from Tales of Symphonia. Quite a surprise for sure, but this game in particular was a popular title during the GameCube era. And ever since then, Lloyd has become somewhat a face for the Tales series in the eyes of Nintendoites and the Smash community. He was featured as a Mii costume during the Wii U days, and that Mii costume never has come back, which could be telling, or it might not be anything. Bandai Namco, the company that owns the Tales of franchise, has helped co-develop the last 3 Smash games, including Ultimate, yet their only representation remains Pac-Man. But maybe with this COVID situation causing things to change worldwide, their partnership might lead to a DLC inclusion at long last for them. Lloyd doing well in Japan just adds further fuel to this fire. We know Smash enjoys its RPG-style newcomers, and Lloyd was apparently the most socially requested character in Japan. And since Nintendo and Bandai Namco are already working together, then this deal could have already been made at the announcement for further DLC, and he could very well be planned for the second pass. As it stands right now, I think one of the most likely third-party companies to get a character in Volume 2 is Bandai Namco, and Lloyd seems like a safe and easy choice to make. He does wield 2 swords after all, so it's kinda different. They'll add some flavor by incorporating some battle mechanics from Symphonia, like they've done with a few other third-party swordies that are already in, a la Cloud and Hero. But I think Lloyd certainly is a character to keep in mind for this next Fighter's Pass, when potential third-party characters are being discussed, and especially when it comes to being likely. Now we're going to move on to the first of our 2 Western regions, Europe. At the bottom of the top 5, meaning at number 5 itself, is a character that's interesting to me. That character is Doomslayer. Now, Doomslayer has been in the speculation sphere for over the last year or so, originally being the last character on this fake 5chan leak that included all the wrong characters for the first Fighter's Pass. It was a fake leak that included Steve, Ryu Hayabusa, and the Doomslayer. All these characters have been talked about at length since that leak, and even though it was always fake as fuck, Doomslayer is now still being requested. It's as if this fake leak made people think how intriguing he could actually be if he were implemented as a fighter. People realize that Doom has a lot of Nintendo history, and would represent a genre that has not yet been represented, that being first-person shooters. Doom is the grandfather of that genre, and without its success, the Halo and CODs of this industry wouldn't be around nor popular. Over Master Chief, the Doomslayer is a legacy character, and that archetype is something that Sakurai himself is quite fond of including. We've seen different characters that represent different eras of Nintendo's history be included, and this would be a huge name that would turn a bunch of heads if it ever came to light. Bethesda, the company that owns Doom, is also on good enough terms with Nintendo that they would be one of only two Western companies that I think has a shot at getting their character into Smash and being our only Western created character of the next pass. But there is another company that I believe has a much, much higher chance with a character that's quite popular as well. In fact, they're the next character of Europe's top 5. Coming in at number 4 for Europe is Rayman from, of course, Rayman. Now again, this character is already featured in Ultimate as a spirit since the base game launched. Whether that disqualifies a character from being playable in the future is anyone's guess, because personally I think all bets are off for the second Fighter's Pass. But Rayman's a very popular platforming character who has been at the forefront of fake leaks and being included as an NPC. He was a trophy previously in Smash for Wii U, but Ubisoft and Nintendo seem to have a great third-party relationship these days. And Rayman is kind of Ubisoft's mascot. Well, besides the rabbits, of course, too. His floating limbs would make him unique, and he's a face that many fans are familiar with and enjoy. I'm not going to say he's a lock or anything like that, but as of this upload and moment right now, I believe Rayman has the best chance to be the one and only Western-created character to be featured as DLC in Smash Ultimate's second Fighter's Pass. And on the topic of platforming darlings of the 90s, we have Crash Bandicoot, folks. He's number 3 in the European top 5. Again, this is not to say that I think Crash is a bad choice. He's the perfect type of character for Smash and is an icon, deserving of an appearance in a crossover such as this. Even if Incineroar kind of already has his neutral B. But beyond that move, I struggle on what kind of moveset potential there would be. I know the dev team could definitely think of something great, but again, I think this marsupial's chances for DLC just seem to dwindle by the day. Coming in at number 2 for Europe's top 10 is Steve from Minecraft. And honestly, I believe that if this was going to happen, it would have happened already. Banjo and Kazooie were revealed last year, and they're a Microsoft-owned duo. And I don't see Microsoft getting a second character in the second pass. Nintendo went with the long-term fan request over the massive cash cow. But due to how humongous this cash cow is, there's always the chance that Minecraft could get in as DLC. But really, I truly do feel if it was going to happen, then Minecraft would have been chosen over Banjo-Kazooie. And it wasn't. I don't see Microsoft getting another character. So sorry to Steve, and sorry to Master Chief, who was also in America's top 10, by the way, just kind of outside the top 5. But now, since Europe's number 1 is in fact the exact same number 1 request for America, we're going to save that character for the end. So now we've made it to my region, kind of, the region of America. Mostly the United States, but as a Canadian, I'm also in North America, and we share release dates for things of this nature, so I'm wrapping us Canadians in there with you Americans. So, let's begin the top 5 for America. At number 5, for America, we also have Steve from Minecraft. Since we broke down my thoughts on his chances just moments ago, I suppose I can at least leave you with this. I have flashes of Pac-Man and Mr. Game & Watch when Steve comes to mind when I think of how can Sakurai make this Minecraft avatar fight. Then it makes you kind of want to see them get realized out of a morbid curiosity. But aside from that, I don't have much more to say other than Sakurai's creativity would serve Steve/Alex quite well. Coming in at number 4 of America's top 5 requests is none other than my favorite possessed doll character, Gino. We went over Gino a little more in depth last week, so go check out that video if you want some of my ideas for him as a fighter. Again, it must be mentioned that since Ultimate launched, Gino has been included as one of the many collectible spirits, just like the previously mentioned Rayman. He is the second character of this video that's a spirit. Once again, for this second pass, we don't know if being a spirit disqualifies a character from becoming playable in the future. But Gino still pulling top 5 in North America puts a smile on my face. Woo! Coming in at number 3 for America's top 5 is Shantae, everybody's favorite half genie, using magic spells and attacking with her hair, and maybe throw some dance moves in there to incorporate her moveset as well. And this way forward character has had a resurgence over the last number of years, and has a very, very big popularity within the Smash community in particular. But again, we come to our third top 10 regional character who is a spirit in Ultimate. But much like with the chances with Gino, could the fan demand for Shantae be enough to have her included as the Western character? Maybe. But I still think Rayman is the most likely for that option. But no one can deny Shantae's popularity, coming in at number 3 over the likes of FPS legends like Doomslayer and Master Chief, who were just outside the top 5 at number 6 and 7. That should speak for the love that this community has for Shantae. Coming in at number 2 for a second appearance in a top 5 list, this time for America, is Crash Bandicoot, and we discussed him decently enough during his spot in Europe's top 3. So we don't really need to discuss more now that he's appeared in second place for America's top 5 requests. I've already given my opinion on how unlikely I now think he is. And lastly, coming in at number 1 for both Western regions, Europe and America, is none other than, drumroll, Sora from Kingdom Hearts. And as I said in the Japanese top 10 much earlier on, you would hear about Sora again come a little later in the video. So, now here we are. In last week's video, the same one that mentioned Gino, I also did a deep dive on Sora's potential as a fighter and how much I wanted him. Well, he has the most demand of any character from the West, and he was the runner-up in Japan behind their number 1 choice in Lloyd. I don't need to repeat most of the ideas I expressed for Sora. You can go find them in last week's videos if you want more ideas on that front. But I have to make mention that topping 2 lists of multiple character requests and being the runner-up for potentially the most important region of all must be something that's on Nintendo and Disney's radar. Much like many of the characters on these lists, Ultimate really feels like Sora's last chance, but it also feels like Gino's last chance. It also feels like Shantae's last chance, Crash's last chance. This crossover of this magnitude of Ultimate will never be, again, pun intended, it'll never be this Ultimate again. And perhaps, if such a deal could be made in the midst of this pandemic or afterwards, saving Sora for last could be the final reveal where Smash actually ends on a high note for DLC. No offense to Byleth and Bayonetta, but this second pass needs to end as strong as possible. Perhaps Sora could be the way to go. Pleasing 3 different regions? That's a special character we have here. Now, for those curious of the bottom 5, I will list them off for each region before wrapping things up for the week. Yeah, I know, I just said I wasn't going to go through the top 10, but I'm sure most of you are curious. So, the bottom 5 of Japan's top 10 were in this order. Number 6, Arl from Puyo Puyo. Number 7, Gundam from Gundam, but we all know those origins aren't video game related, so no dice there. Number 8, Raiden from Metal Gear. Number 9, Sephiroth from Final Fantasy VII. And lastly, at number 10 to round things out, is 2B from Nier Automata. The bottom 5 of Europe's top 10 in order were number 6, Gino from Super Mario RPG. Number 7, Heavy from Team Fortress 2. Yeah, a little bit of Valve love there. Number 8, Agumon from Digimon, which is another Namco possibility. Number 9, Dante from Devil May Cry. And at number 10, to round things out, is Jibanyan from Yokai Watch. And last, but certainly not least, is the bottom 5 of America's top 10 in order, which is number 6, The Doomslayer. Number 7, Master Chief from Halo. Number 8, Waluigi. Number 9, 2B from Nier Automata. And number 10, to round out this final list, is of course Bandana D of Kirby fame. An interesting note is that 2 of the bottom 5 choices from America were first-party characters in Waluigi and Bandana D, while Europe and even Japan itself had all third-party requests. While in the American data, 2 first parties were indeed requested in spite of being both an assist trophy and spirit individually. Could this be time for either of these characters to shine in a more first-party centric pass? Only time will tell. Another interesting thing I took away from this is the entirety of Japan's top 10 was, of course, all characters created in Japan itself. You would expect similar results from the Western Europe and America, but both of their top 10s were half and half. Half the requests of both America and Europe's top 10 were indeed Western created, but the other half of their top 10 were Japanese created characters too, and the only characters that matched East with West were Sora, 2B, and Dante. So now I throw the following questions to you guys. Do any of the characters you've seen in this video appeal to you? Who do you desire? Who were actually some surprising requests to you based on these regions? And most importantly, has our run of third-party DLCs come to an end? Let me know in the comments below. So now, we begin the cheapest of plugs. Yes, ladies and gentlemen, it is indeed that time of the video again. As you can see by the lovely graphic in front of you, there is a list to all of my social media and gaming presences. So please add and follow me on those platforms to stay as up-to-date as you possibly can with all of my content going forward. And for those of you who are new to the channel and enjoyed what you've seen and heard, please click that lovely little subscribe button, and thank you all so very much for watching.